Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Mac and Jack Sports Show, our Friday edition. Streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, on Mac Sports, and the Northeast Streaming Sports Facebook pages. Please like, follow, and share our Facebook pages. Subscribe to the Northeast Streaming Sports YouTube channel for all the great Northeast Streaming Sports shows. We're also on Instagram and Twitter. Our website is nessp.info for all the information on our shows, guests, their bios, stores, and links to those stores. I'm Mac with your co-host, Jack Hirsch, legendary boxing writer and former president of the Boxing Writers Association of America, together bringing you national sports with special focus on Northeast professional sports teams from New York, Boston, and Philly. Good morning, Jack.
Good morning, Mac. I got to get another title like former Little League star, something like that.
Yes.
But I didn't have a, former marathon runner, but I didn't win any honors really. So I have to take what I can get. Thanks for the intro.
That describes you very well because, I don't have a title and I like it that way, Jack. It's nothing that expectations stay low for me. I love it when expectations are low.
Yeah, listen, some people are lucky to have titles, some not. I don't know why I thought of Todd Frazier yesterday. Little League World Series champion when he was a little kid, Major League, and now he's closing out his career playing in the Olympics. So, that's kind of cool.
That's very cool. And folks, we're just getting off of last night. We had a special, a Northeast Streaming Sports special, the re-rise of the Dynasty, a Yankee special. If you haven't seen it yet, go over to YouTube, check out Northeast Streaming Sports. We did an in-depth look at the New York Yankees of the 70s. If you love baseball and you love the history of baseball, it's a pretty good show. So go check it out if you get a chance. Today, Jack, we have scheduled in Byron Williams, our NFL analyst, who normally comes in about 8:30. We have Keith Angle, TGI Sports Talk host. We're going to talk a little bit about the NCAA more than what we normally talk about, which is the Yankees and Pats and the Knicks. A big story out there where they're developing a new playoff system, and we're going to get into it in detail when he comes on. And yesterday he didn't make it on the show, but we have Jim Harmon, the commissioner, president, whatever, the head, let's put it that way, the head of the ECFL Semi-Pro Football League. He'll be in to discuss what's going on with the ECFL, a dynamite site, dynamite league, and we'll have him in later around 9:30. So, Jack, as you know, every Friday until the season's over, really, we have our NBA review and recap, and of course, it's getting a little bit less and a little bit less as the games get less and less. But with playoffs going, we still got to cover it, Jack. So, Jack, in the only playoff game last night, the Bucks tied the series at 3-3, win 104-89. Middleton had 38 points and 10 rebounds. Giannis had 30 points with 17 rebounds. Holiday gets on track a little bit with 21 points and 8 rebounds. The Nets, surprisingly to me anyway, Jack, we talked about this yesterday, played Durant in a lot of minutes. So he played 40 minutes. Also had Harden in for almost 40 minutes. Both Harden's still injured. Durant, I don't know why they kept him in. To me, the Bucks were going to win this, Jack. The Bucks were going to win this game in front of the home crowd. Maybe even if all the big three was there and they were healthy. This was do or die. It's home, and to me, they should have pulled Durant right away, and Harden shouldn't have played. Give him the game, unless you're in at the end of the game and you have a chance to give him the game, and then let all three of them, hopefully, if Kyrie's feeling better, come in and play that last game. Because to me, Jack, to have Harden get injured even more was a bad move by the Nets.
I'll tell you, Harden is not the same player out there. His leg is really taped up heavily to protect the hamstring. And he's an average player the way he is now. I could understand he wants to play really bad, but Mac, I kind of wish you were coaching the Nets for Game 6 because you really had the right idea. They're guaranteed a game 7 at home. Have your players rested and ready 100% for that game. Hold Durant back. Limit his minutes in game 6 at the very least. And if at the end of the game, okay, they're entering, let's say, the fourth period and the Nets are very much in it, then you bring Durant, back, and then you try to finish it. One of the strengths of the Nets this year that wasn't talked about was their bench. People keep talking about the big three, but their bench has been magnificent throughout the year. They've pretty much been absent to a large degree in this playoff series. And, with Kyrie out, Durant had a monster game 5. He had a good game 6, but it was for naught. It became apparent the Nets weren't going to win this game. Chris Middleton must listen to the Mac and Jack show, because every time I keep saying he's not a true viable number 2 guy, that Milwaukee needs an impact player to go along with Giannis, Chris Middleton comes up with a great game, a monster game like he did yesterday. So if the Chris Middleton of yesterday shows up for game 7, Giannis is going to be in form. Anything could happen in that game 7.
I agree. Listen, you got a big fan out there, Jack. Marcia Godkin.
I kind of a friend of mine. So
okay.
It's like, I got to confess. How you doing, Marsha? Thanks for the nice words.
Okay.
You don't think somebody I didn't know would actually,
Yes.
He's so complimentary, but thanks a lot.
Yes.
Right back to you, Marsha, same way.
I was hoping that it wasn't a stalker, Jack. I was hoping. So I think you embarrassed Jack, Marsha, which is pretty
I'm blushing, yeah. You can't get me to blush, Mac. You see?
So Jack, we have the Clippers and the Jazz. The Clips are up 3-2. And I have the same thoughts with Kyrie, right? Kyrie, that maybe they should hold him back too. If they have a shot at winning, I don't know what the extent of his injury is, so maybe I shouldn't even say that. But I heard rumors that he may not come back at all. But say he can. If he could play this next game, I wouldn't play him. I mean, you're up 3-2. You got a game to give. And if they're in close at the end of the game where they can win it, and Kawhi Leonard could play, then I would put him in to see if we could win the game and get it over with. The same kind of – I feel the same way with the Clippers right now, because right now they're in the driver's seat, Jack.
There you are for game 6 because they're up 3-2. I wonder about Donovan Mitchell. His ankle has been bothering him a lot. And sometimes a player's out there in the court and he can give you a lot of minutes. But if he's hurt, he's not truly effective. He's compromised. Okay? And sometimes the thought is, if you have a star player, even if he's compromised, he's still going to be a little better than whoever else you could put out there. And one of the thoughts, too, if it's one of the players who's a foundation for your team, do you want to risk his long-term well-being by putting him out there with certain types of injuries, especially if it's a knee, it's a really bad ankle? I mean, how much can you actually play him, during the game? And sometimes the player himself doesn't even know how he's going to respond. I mean, they don't even know. I remember Willis Reed when the Knicks won the NBA title and they were up 3-2 against the Lakers in the 69-70 season. He's in his hotel room thinking, well, I could get to play game 6, even though he got injured during game 5. So he starts to try to jump up and down in the room and he collapses. He couldn't stand under his own weight once he tried to exert himself. So injuries play such a vital part in it. But you want to know something, Mac? At the end of the day, it's not an excuse. It's got to be next man up. You've got to be ready to go. And if certain players have this injury history where they're not there for their team in big spots and it happens year after year, it's just the team's not going to go any further with them. Sometimes you just got to move on from certain players.
The only problem I see with what I'm saying and about the Jazz series is that we ain't talking about Phoenix because they swept Portland and they're kind of sitting back, resting, maybe doing drills, whatever, studying film, watching the games. You know, they're in a great position, Jack. One of my picks to win the championship. The Suns, no matter what happens, if you look at, you know, Kawhi Leonard and you look at, you talked about Mitchell, they're healthy and they're just waiting right now. So they're in a great position to win this Western Division, Jack.
Yeah. Can you imagine, Mac, we have a finals, the Phoenix Suns against the Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah.
Who would have thought that right before the playoffs would have begun? Because basketball is so much more predictable than hockey. You know, a number of teams are going to be bitterly disappointed how the playoffs ended, bitterly. And it's this, whoever loses the series between the Clippers and Utah Jazz, it's going to be a long winter. I mean, if the Jazz go out in the playoffs after really having the best record in the NBA during the year, what a disappointment with the team they have. Same thing with the Clippers. It would be 2 years in a row they teamed up, you know, Leonard and George, and they couldn't get it done and couldn't go to the finals. I mean, what a bitter disappointment. And the Sixers, if they go out against the Hawks, all the good they accomplished during the years basically down the drain. Same thing with the Nets. Listen, in a weird type way, Mac, the Milwaukee Bucks, if they lose a close game 7 to the Nets, the year necessarily hasn't been a failure in the sense they could look forward to next year because they wouldn't have flopped. They would have come back from a 2-0 deficit, battled back to a game 7 and taken the Nets down to the wire. So in a certain way, Milwaukee could salvage something out of this season, even if they lose to the Nets in the game 7, if it's a highly competitive game. If it's a blowout, then they're going to think the same old Milwaukee team. But if Milwaukee should get by the Nets, you know, I mean, they're going to be thinking NBA title, and with good reason.
Yeah, I mean, you know, when you go back and look at it historically, you really don't think about the injuries and what happened. All you remember is that this team beat this team. And you bring up the Hawks, Jack. And, you know, I thought Philly was going to the championship. I don't care about Embiid's injury because, to me, their team should be able to, you know, rest him at certain points and still beat the Hawks. But the Hawks are looking like Miami last year. What a position they're in. They beat Philly. If they beat Philly, they go on to play the Bucks, who have a lot of question marks, and they go on to play the Nets, who are, you know, have a lot of injuries. They got a shot, Jack.
You know, like you love the Boston Red Sox this year. They were your surprise team. The Hawks were my surprise team. This year I had picked them to beat the Knicks. The thing about certain teams have a thing called upside, Mac, where you see the potential for improvement is there. They're getting like better as you're going along, maybe slightly, but they're getting better. And some of the elite teams are actually a little bit on the downside. They've kind of peaked. So the Hawks are doing a slow upward climb, and the Sixers are barely hanging on. Okay, and right now the Sixers one game away from elimination in the way they're playing. With that said, I'm predicting the Sixers win game 6. The urgency is there. If the Sixers are to lose in Atlanta, okay, you know how ugly things are going to be in Philly? Because you have to look, what changes can you make in the offseason? Well, how can you correct this next year? And the only way the Sixers are going to be able to correct things is by making a major deal. How can they come back with the same exact guys? Because they had a good year this year. They had the best record in the East. How much better are they going to do than that in the regular season? Okay, and then they beat Washington Wizards pretty handily in the playoffs. They were ready. Okay, and to lose to an Atlanta team, and they let 2 games get away. You know, you can make an argument that this thing should have been over, and the Sixers should have won this in 5 games. You can make this argument. But they let Atlanta come back, and I don't want to say steal 2 games, but snatch 2 games away from the Sixers they should have won. And now the Sixers have to win 2 in a row to save their season. And it's interesting, but I think they're going to respond. But I get the feeling they've become too dependent on Joel Embiid. And I also get the feeling, and I don't have evidence, by noticing their body language on the court. And I think this is going to come out if they get eliminated. There's dissension on that team. you could tell with their body language, there's dissension. And I get the feeling some of it might be towards Joel Embiid because the attitude seemed to be, okay, you want to be the guy, you do this, you do that. It just, Tobias Harris last game, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
He was dreadful. We were comparing him to Kyrie Irving. He was dreadful. It's as if he didn't want to play. It's as if Ben Simmons didn't want to play. It's like they were forced to go to work, but they didn't want to play. That was their body language.
There was rumors, Jack, in the beginning of the year about Harden going to the Sixers for Simmons and maybe another person. Do you think we know that Harden's injured right now, but do you think the Sixers are regretting that right now?
They would have had to give up an offer to Simmons, a bunch of draft picks. I don't think the Sixers are thinking of it right now, one way or the other. Look, the Nets are one game away from elimination, too. Yeah. Okay? And Harden's been hurt. I mean, listen, if the Sixers get eliminated and the Nets go on to win the NBA championship, yeah, it's going to be the talk in Philadelphia. Could we have made the deal? It's the typical second guessing. But listen, when the Sixers were playing so well during the year, do you think anyone was questioning that? Even when James Harden was off to that great start and he looked like a viable MVP candidate, people weren't really, I don't think, seriously complaining about that in Philadelphia because I think all in all they were happy with Simmons. Embiid was the guy. But what has happened to the Philadelphia 76ers in that last game? You know, you want a team to show fight. You want them to show resolve. When you have a big lead, you know, like 20 points, and another team is dwindling the lead down, cutting into it, you're looking for your closer, you know, someone to, you know, put a stop to it, you know, and, you know, put a stop to the Hawk run. And all it was Joel Embiid on offense, turnovers going on, inexcusable turnovers. It was like guys were scared to shoot. Guys were scared to make a bad play. And as a result, they made a bad play. They played tight. They played nervous. They lacked poise. And you kind of wonder, I mean, a Doc Rivers coach team, you'd think would have a little more poise than the Sixers had. And they had none at all. But give the Hawks credit. Danilo Gallinari, okay? It might be didn't show up in the box score. What a spark he gave to the Atlanta Hawks. And that sometimes makes you think, Mac, there's certain NBA players. What happens if they stayed with one team their whole career? Gallinari was a Knick moons ago, but he got traded in the Carmelo Anthony deal, which is long ago. And imagine they never made the Carmelo Anthony deal. They kept their pieces and Gallinari was still a Knick. He would be really Tom Thibodeau's type of player, contributing really well. But that's kind of second guessing, things. But some of the big time players outside of Trae Young in Atlanta, Collins, Capella, you got guys like Gallinari, Lou Williams off the bench. They make major contributions.
So, Jack, let's turn to the NHL quick. Tampa Bay beats the Islanders 2-1. Goals from Yanni Guride and Braden Point. The Islanders with a goal from my new favorite player, Cal Clutterbuck. I love that name. Vasilevsky saves 27 of 28 shots on goal. Had a heck of a game. The Islander goalie played well too. Valmarov, he played good too. It was just a good game, but the Islanders cannot let Tampa Bay get up by one more game. I think, Jack. I mean,
the Islanders are down 3-1 in this crazy NHL, Mac. Anything will happen. Keep in mind the Montreal Canadiens, who are 1-1 with Vegas in the first round of the playoffs. They stole a game from the Toronto Maple Leafs. They went up 1-0. Then the Maple Leafs win the next three, and the Maple Leafs are a better team.
Yeah.
Maple Leafs are powerful teams. You think it's all over, and the Canadiens win 3 straight. Yesterday's game, the deciding goal for Tampa Bay, scored by Braden Point, was the craziest goal you're ever going to see. He was falling down when he scored the goal, falling down on his face, and he wraps a stick around it and moves the puck in a crazy direction, and it somehow goes in the goal. It was a crazy, weird goal that you never see. It wasn't a shot even.
Yeah.
It was like a push. You know, it was hard to explain, and you had to see it, and it's but you're right. If they go down 3-1 against the Lightning, I still wouldn't count the Islanders out, but it's such a mountain to climb.
You're talking
doubtful
you're talking three wins compared to one, Jack. They got to tie it up next game they play. The Canadiens and Knights play tonight. We'll see if Montreal can keep up this little magical run they got going on. In baseball, Jack, in Major League, the Yankees beat the Blue Jays 8-4 with 4 runs in the 7th, 1 run in the 9th. Chris Gittin playing pitch hitting and playing first with a big hit. Stanton, Urshela with a couple of home runs, and Aaron Judge with a great catch over the wall to make sure that the Blue Jays go down. In fact, the Blue Jays are in a terrible losing streak.
And the Yankees made a little history yesterday. It might seem that big. It was their first time in franchise history where they've turned 2 triple plays in a season. There was a triple play because of the ineptness of the base running of the Toronto Blue Jays. It's one thing, it's a triple play where you have guys on first and second, and a ball is scorched to third base, and the third baseman is playing on the line. He grabs it. He steps on third, throws to second. They throw to first. That happens bang, bang, bang. That's excusable if you're the team that's batting. But Toronto, their base running was dreadful. I mean, it was like, once in a while, these are major leaguers, but once in a while we see little league stuff. So the boy, even though they're big leaguers, the boy in them is still there to an extent. They get confused. They're running here, they're running there, and Mac. At that moment, you and I could have sat the Blue Jay runners down and explained to them, no, you're supposed to this, you're supposed to that. But listen, Toronto's fallen badly. Yankees are hanging in there. I mean, they're still a ways down. I'm less about the standings now than just playing well. Yeah. Just get wins. Just don't worry about it, because the standings will take care of itself as we go along.
Definitely. And that play was, I don't think that they got the guy out going into the third. I think he was safe, but there wasn't enough evidence to overrule.
Did they review it, Mac?
Yes, they did. There wasn't enough evidence to overrule the decision.
I thought he was saying, I saw the replay on it. I didn't see it live. Okay, because I'm watching the Net game. I'm watching the Islander game. So I just saw it later afterwards. And I was under the impression he was safe getting back there. But regardless, it shouldn't have been that close to put himself in that situation.
Well, I've been in pickles before, Jack, and when you got runners going back and forth, coming back to the bag, and it gets confusing. I learned just to stay on the base and let him do what he's got to do. I mean, you made a mistake. I'm not getting caught too. Whenever I advanced to a base and there was somebody caught in it, unless I was in third, I had a shot to score going to home. I stayed there, so that was me. I wasn't getting.
They're 2 out. They're 2 outs. It's not a big difference with 2 outs. If a runner's on second, a run on third. I understand the element of a wild pitch, a passed ball, an infield single that a guy could score on. There are a lot of different ways you could score from third base, more ways, as opposed to second base, even with 2 outs. I understand all that. But in all likelihood, it doesn't it's not worth the risk of getting thrown out at third base, to get caught up in some way. And that's just the way I think of it. But what happened? Listen, even the Yankees were shocked about the triple play. You saw them looking around. Maybe they thought the runner got back to third base safely, but they're looking around like they can't believe this.
We'll take it. Backstage right now, folks. live from a golf course, believe it or not. Byron come in from anywhere, the car, a hotel room, in his pool. It doesn't matter. Byron always makes it here. Let's see if we get Byron up here, and let's see if the feed's good enough. So let's see our NFL analyst, former wide receiver of the NFL, World Football League, and Canadian Football League, Byron Williams. Byron, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Okay, I'm trying to bring you up. I got you underneath, but coming on. Let me see if I can do this one more time. Maybe it's because you're kind of in still right now. Let's see if you can adjust your camera, your computer a little bit and see if we can get you up. There you are, my friend.
How's that?
That's good. That's very good. So Byron, from what I understand, you're at the golf course today.
I am. I'm at the Cowboys golf course right by the airport, and they got music playing everywhere, so I came out to the court.
Right? See, that's my buddy.
The Cowboys have a golf course? I didn't hear of this.
Oh, they've been had this golf course over here. It's really nice. It's right by the airport.
Well, I don't get it. I mean, I never heard of it. And I hear about things. Why do they have it?
Yeah, the Cowboys got a golf course in Grapevine, and the Rangers got a course in Arlington now.
Wow. Listen to that. So how do they feel about a former New York Giant wide receiver that was part of teams that used to beat up on the Cowboys a little bit on their golf course right now?
They learning to love me. They learning to love me. So sometimes you can turn hate into love.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can, Byron. So, Byron, in the NFL news, I want to go over with you a couple things. The Bears are talking about moving out of Soldier Field to a suburb of Chicago. It's not like when the Giants moved out of Yankee Stadium, they went to Yale Bowl, ended up in Jersey. But to me, it's still a little sad because where you play and all these teams play at is almost as historically important as the team itself, don't you think?
Yeah, I couldn't hear the end of that because this plane was passing over. I did hear about the Chicago Bears. They had bought some land, I guess, a couple of years ago, right? And so they planning on making a move, kind of like the Washington Redskins did. They did the same thing over in Maryland from D.C. So, these teams now, they have incentives to move and build stadiums. And when they do, they also have a contract with the NFL that within 5 years they can host the Super Bowl. A lot of people don't know that, but if you build a new stadium, within 5 years you can host the Super Bowl. That like the New York Giants host the Super Bowl, the Indianapolis Colts host the Super Bowl, Detroit hosted the Super Bowl. So that's an incentive for these teams to move and build new stadiums.
So I know you weren't around when they were kicked out and ended up going to Jersey, and I think it took them like 3 years to get that set. They played in the Yale Bowl, and I would be, just to talk about the stadium one more time. I would be sad like if Green Bay moved out of where they're at right now, Lambeau Field, right? I mean that has again such historical significance to football. Soldier Field is right up there with it. I mean, so it's just, to me, I mean, unless you can name it Soldier Field again if you want. It's just, to me, it takes a lot of the historical feeling away from that team now if they do that, Byron. And to me, it's kind of sad. Same thing if Green Bay moved.
Yeah, I'm going to see if I can go get in my car because I can't hear because the plane's going over me every so many minutes.
Okay.
Byron, you're sounding like me on the show now.
I know.
I'm wearing off on you.
I know. It's like you. I'm just still trying to be undercover.
Okay.
Okay, Byron.
But these old time stadiums, like you're right about Lambeau Field, Soldier Field. When you played, you probably, Byron, got a bit more excited playing at these legendary stadiums that, like, you heard about when you were a kid, like Soldier Field, Lambeau Field. certain fans. I mean, like you're towards the end zone where the dog pound is in Cleveland. You know, you heard about all this stuff. You kind of, I think the players in a certain sense, like a little taste of that if you were even a visiting player, to just see it, and if that's your home team, you bond with those fans. If you're Cleveland Brown, you're bonding with the dog pound. The players like to jump into the stands. Guy catches a touchdown pass, a Packer player, he likes to be hugged by the fans. That's that kind of little bond where they jump up, and it's a tradition of certain of these NFL franchises. They affect the play a lot because, let's face it, no one would in their right mind would prefer to live. I don't mean it that way. Let me retract that. For the most part, people would prefer to live in Los Angeles over Green Bay. Yet NFL players might prefer to play in Green Bay over most glamour cities because of the tradition of the Packers or the tradition of the Bears.
Yeah, and tradition have a lot to do with it. I mean, growing up as a kid, you go into the stadium and hear the history and know the legendary players, the legends that played on these teams. It's just so much there. So, you want to stay connected with that as well. So I just think sometimes, we get too above ourselves, and sometimes Soldier Field is just it's one of those pillars of excitement to go in there and play, just like Madison Square Garden is for a lot of basketball players.
Sure. And no matter what the team's records are. So I was reading in where they predict or how they rate certain squads on certain teams, and the Giants secondary, according to analytics, which I hate, but I saw Giants, so I had to stop. They're rated number 7 defensive backfield in the whole league, Bradbury being number 5. I was talking to Lance Meadows, Byron, and I think the strongest unit on a defense, before was the defensive line. I think that's sweet. I think the defensive backfield is now the strongest unit on the Giants.
Oh yeah, they really have added some talent, and I'm just excited. And if you have that type of defensive backfield strength, then the defense numbers gonna go way, rated really high. So, and they can stop the pass, because now the NFL is all about passing, right? So the linemen's filling the gaps, and the defensive backs are covering those receivers all over the place. That's just nothing but a heartache for a rate for success, right? So that right there gonna get them a lot of momentum going into the season and making things happen. So I think defense win championships. So that's another thing that's kind of what Washington last year did. They built that team off of defense.
Yeah, it's very true. I mean, if you think about it, Byron, right? 2 years ago, we had a bad defense. There's no other way to put it. Drafted a lot of young guys. Gettleman gets busy. We picked up Peppers in a trade. We pick up Bradbury. We pick up Logan. And now we pick up another defensive back. So not only do we have veterans, but we have a lot of young guys behind them. McKinney, Love, Holmes. These are all very talented defensive backs that might be able to start on other teams. So we got depth there now too. So I got to give Gettleman his due with his off-season moves, picking up these defensive backs, making a trade for Peppers, and really building the Giants' defense, not only through the draft, but through free agency also.
Right. And good thing about it, they got experience, and these guys can play. So that's what's exciting about this season. If these guys can stay healthy, they can come in with these different packages, cover packages, and they can match up with these receivers. That's the formula for success.
Definitely agree.
No, it's funny. We're talking about the Chicago Bears and Soldier Field. It's easy to forget, that Justin Fields deal. The Giants have the Bears' #1 draft pick next year. So it would be good for the Giants if the Bears have a poor season. because they get to pick high. And if, let's say, the Giants didn't have a good year and the Bears didn't have a good year, they'll have 2 high number 1 draft picks. And you could do a lot with that, maybe even trade for an elite college quarterback if Daniel Jones doesn't pan out this year. Because Daniel Jones is going to be on the hot seat as the year goes along. It's his 3rd year. He's going to be given the Sam Darnold treatment this year if he doesn't respond.
I think he's gonna be all right. I really do. I feel good about his situation. I think he's ready. He done seen enough. He know the game. He know what the speed is all about. He just needs to stay healthy. I mean, he just needs to make better decisions in the pocket, move a little bit, have a little bit mobility. And I think once you get your confidence up, Jack, it's a whole different world. So this is the year I think he'll be playing balls out.
You know, Byron, typically a fan, well, you could tell he's not a fan of the Giants, rooting for the Giants and Chicago both have bad years, so they get better draft picks. Good teams don't need draft picks. That's why they stay good, because they know how to build a team. To hell with the draft picks. Let's win some games.
Yeah, I have a point. The LA Rams always trade their picks. They're not concerned with the draft.
Yeah.
I mean, like at all. I mean, they're just going for it right now, and they keep moving ahead, trading future draft picks.
Yeah, most of the teams. Go ahead.
But you know what? I wouldn't depend on draft picks. I just don't depend on draft picks because they hadn't played at that level yet. So you got to continue to build your team on free agency, and build your team on you know, the players being committed in the offseason. I think what people need to understand, you build the strength of your teams in the offseason and have them to work so hard that when the season starts, you hit the ground running.
All right. So,
but let me tell you guys, you don't know what to believe and what not to believe. The word coming out of Jacksonville the last couple of days is Trevor Lawrence isn't ready to start. Now, what the heck are they talking about? If Trevor Lawrence isn't the opening game quarterback for Jacksonville, there's a serious problem there. It's not like they have an established veteran where he can, learn under for a few games or whatever. And you kind of wonder what to believe and what not to believe, coming out of these camps.
I think Trevor Lawrence got to be ready when opening day starts. He got to be ready. Because that's what they was hoping on. That's what they build their hope on. So I just think he'll be ready. I just hate to hear what the media got to say. And sometimes the media is misled by some of the things that they report.
Yeah, listen, of course he's not ready right now to start. He still has a whole offseason here, a preseason to get ready to start. So
right.
If you think he's ready to start as pro just out of mini camp, of course he's not ready yet. So it's going to take a little time. I don't care how good a quarterback you are. It's going to take time to learn that system. Carlos brought up the Redskins, and they did get competitive through the draft. And I guess if you consider 7-9 competitive, I guess that's competitive. Good morning to you, Tom. But Carlos misses the point on what I'm talking about. You have teams that are solidly every year competitive, and they don't get the first-round draft choices. They don't get the top 5 draft choices, but they're competitively good every year. Steelers, the Patriots before, these teams, the Chiefs right now, the Ravens, they're going to get a top 32 pick. Yeah, maybe if they don't trade it. But they already have a team, and they're growing that team to be good right now, and they stay competitive. The team that's getting all the draft choices, the ones at the bottom of the league, like the Jets, like the Giants have been, like the Skins have been, and they're still not competitive at 7-9, like the Eagles are going to be, they keep getting the draft choices, but they're not building off of that. So, draft choices are great, if you trade for them or you do something with them, and it's nice to have. But the good teams don't need them for first-round draft choices because they already got their stuff together. And that's all I was trying to say to Carlos. The Redskins, speaking of the Redskins, Dan Orlovsky of ESPN, this guy played backup quarterback primarily. He played for the Lions, I think the Dolphins for a while. He had a little bit of starting. And you've probably heard of him, Byron. He was also a UConn quarterback, so I know him pretty well. He says that the Redskins, going along with Carlos, is one of the top 4 most competitive teams in the NFC this year because they have the fastest team in the league. The guy is just nuts. Orlowski has no idea what football is about. I hate him on broadcast. I'm just kidding. I don't hate him. But anyway, he likes to say little things that are a little bit.
Well, no, Mac, I don't get this. In defense of him, he said they have one of the top teams in the NFC East. They might win it. They did win but they won the NFC East last year. So technically, they come in as defending champions of the NFC
That's
East.
not what he said. He said they're one of the top 4 teams in NFC. Not that they were one of the division leaders. What he's saying?
I don't think it's crazy.
They're better than Tampa Bay, or they're good as Tampa Bay. They're good as the Rams. Yeah. They're good as the Cardinals. They're good as the 49ers. They're good as Chicago. They're good as Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers, because we don't know yet. So he's comparing them in that category, and that's just ridiculous. Washington does not have a quarterback, and their offense is okay. Their defensive line is good. Their defensive backfield stinks. That's the honest truth about the Washington Redskins, Byron.
Well, you got to talk, and Byron could attest to this. Some teams have upside. They're getting better as the year went along, and that's what the Redskins did. I mean, the Washington football team did last year. They beat the Pittsburgh Steelers in a big game in Pittsburgh, and they lost in the first round to the Buccaneers, but they were competitive in that game. They didn't get blown out. But when you have a defense, the type of defense Washington has, all you need is an average offense to be a contender, because you could argue that they have an elite defense. Well, I don't agree with him.
The Giants beat him twice last year, Jack. How competitive were they?
But Washington won the division ultimately.
They weren't supposed to win the division, but you know, their offense ain't gonna have the capability to score that many points.
Yes.
They gonna be, you know, you ain't got nobody to double. You ain't got no superstar on the offense. You ain't got no Pro Bowler. I mean, you might have a lineman or something, but you ain't got no key running back. You ain't got no superstar receivers. So they ain't gonna be able to do too much on the offense. Look like to me.
McClure is pretty good, Byron. I give McClure he's a good receiver.
Yeah,
I'll give him that.
Yeah, he had a year.
But I'm just addressing the quarterback position. Just that alone. I mean, who's your quarterback? Is it Fitzpatrick, or is it the guy he brought over from Carolina that wasn't starting last year?
Ron Rivera doesn't know the answer himself. He regrets last year giving the job to Dwayne Haskins, and he says there's going to be a quarterback competition. But you want to know something, guys? Whenever there's a quarterback competition, you have young quarterbacks, and you have Ryan Fitzpatrick. You know Ryan Fitzpatrick's going to win the competition because he's been around for so long. He could adjust to any offense a lot quicker than anyone else. And Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to win that competition. Whether he's going to stay as quarterback depends on, whether they win or not when he's in there.
Yeah, that's true. I just think the opposite side of the ball is going to be suspect. So, defense, they will ready to play, but I don't know about the offense. So
I agree. I definitely agree. Byron, Jordan Willis of the 49ers defensive end, 6-game suspension without pay, performance-enhancing substances. Now, I never asked you this, and I don't know if you'd want to even talk about it. I mean, you're an NFLPA guy, so you got to be with the players and there's policies and stuff. But when you played, there's been reports that in the late 70s, 80s, steroid use was pretty prevalent. I mean, Steelers have been accused of it, and a lot of teams have. And without naming names, Byron, were you aware of that happening during your playing days? Did you know that this was going on?
Well, you kind of know just by the reaction and the behavior of some players that they was using it. But, during the season, I think most of the players don't use it. I think in the off seasons when they use it and they trying to buck up and improve their strength and things like that. So back in my time, that's when the players were using more of steroids and things like that in off season.
Right.
No, good question with bulking up. I mean, I compare it a little to boxing. The boxers who bulk up, they go into very heavy weight training. It doesn't make them better fighters. They look at themselves in the mirror and they think they're in such great shape, they're invincible, but it doesn't help them perform better. In some cases, they perform even a little worse. Is it that way in football? Guys look at themselves in the mirror. They say, oh, I'm really Diesel, this and that. But it doesn't make them a better tackler. It doesn't make them quicker. It doesn't make their football IQ any better. You find that to be the case?
Yeah, no doubt. That's definitely the case. And also, your joints are weaker. I mean, and then you fatigue. So in the fourth quarter, you're not really improved. I think it's about longevity, staying consistent, and continue to perform well on the field. And so when you use drugs and steroids and things like that, it at the end it's just gonna be deterring your body. It's not that. You don't win out in the long run, and unfortunately, people want short, fast results, and you don't get that by putting your body through that type of transaction. You just don't. You just can't perform to that level and stay that way.
Byron, do you ever see the NFL allowing because at one it became illegal, and and that's when all this stuff really they started banning everything. The policy, of course, is what it is right now. But there are certain things you can take that are even over the counter right now that give you more energy and give you and medications that are legal right now in steroid and human growth. Do you think the policy will ever change in the NFL, allowing certain drugs to be used, but not others?
Yeah, I think they really get to the point of where they're trying to find out. They really changing the drug policy. So I think with the CBD stuff and all this other stuff that's going on, I think they become a little bit more apt to being open-minded about things. And technology is so much better now, and the testing process is so much better. And the strength of of our league is our players, right? So the players are listening to the players. So maybe the testing policies will be altered, and players can do more, because some players are taking medication now because of what they're dealing with. So I think during this next 10 years, there's going to be a lot of policy change for drug testing.
I would think so because if it's legal everywhere else and you start saying you can't do it in the NFL, I don't know if that would even open up to lawsuits or not. But I would imagine the NFLPA, if it's legal, in most states it becomes federal legal, they're going to take some action. If it's still, you're going to get without pay for a few games doing something that's legal. So I would imagine something would happen there.
Let me ask this. I don't know whether you could answer this, Byron. I always wonder about it. If a player sometimes gets fined because he gets in a fight on the field protecting a teammate, doing what the owner really would want him to do, does the owner pick up the fine? Does the team pick up the fine? Or does it come directly out of his pocket? You can take the Fifth Amendment if you want. You don't have to answer this one if you're not comfortable answering it.
I think it's something that can be done with them being able to take care of the fine, and I think in the long run, they'll find a way of getting that resolved correctly. So, I think that's the policy.
Yeah, that was always my feeling.
You have to protect the players, especially the players that you build your team around. You have to protect those players, and those teams. You have to do that. Just part of the game. You have to go in and take up for the ones that need to be protected. And so, back in the day, they used to have bounties on some of the players. Did you know that?
Wow. I mean, that's.
I love it.
I'm sorry, Matt. Go ahead.
No, I love that stuff. And you know something. I mean, listen, the game has changed so much that saying you're going to get if you're going to inflate a salary to say per sack you get so much money, that's a bounty too. They call it incentive. You know what I mean? That's a bounty. If you say if you get 20 sacks, I'm going to give you so much more money. I would consider that a bounty too. I mean, if you want to say it that way. So it's been happening. It still happens today. Maybe not a coach saying, "No, I'll give you $200 if you break this guy up." But if you're paying a player to sack quarterbacks and to as many hits you can get behind a line of scrimmage, that's an incentive. That's a bounty if you want to be technical.
I hate revisionist thinking, Byron. Also, because the mentality many years ago, when I was young, the mentality was knock the quarterback out of the game. Everyone knew that. Defensive players would be talking about it. They're trying to knock the quarterback out of the game. If they said anything like that today, they could get suspended a game. To even mention anything like that, they're going to get in trouble. And yeah.
And and back in the day, we always had the big hit award. So we're looking to knock somebody out.
That's
big hit award. You get excited about the big hit award.
Of course, that's real football, Byron. It's hard to explain to a lot of the people today because they want everything to be nice and beautiful, but football is anything but nice and beautiful.
Let me tell you
what. It's war. It's
yes, it is.
out there. I mean,
yes,
it
is.
What is said out there on that football field?
No, I wouldn't be.
Well, yeah, you guys know. So
Byron, you came along too early. I'm going to tell you why. The thing of the future in the NFL, the next award's going to be which team has the best touchdown end zone dance. Because I know the players are meeting, they're talking. I mean, they're thinking of gimmicks and everything. One team's trying to outdo the other team. And listen, it's about having fun. Listen, the Washington Redskins did it with the Hogs and all in the whole bit, years ago. I'm all for having fun as long as it's not too much of a distraction. They're not thinking of this too long,
Exactly. And that's really a big part of the game. We do the best touchdown dance in the football camps.
Yes.
So,
yes.
you got to have fun and you got to be creative, and that's part of the game now.
And speaking of, before we let you go, and speaking of bounties, if I was the head coach of a team and any time that the other opposing team would do a touchdown dance, I would pay 4 of them to go in there and knock their heads off while they were doing the dance, just to let you know. Byron, great having you in. Every week you give us a perspective, both from as a player and from the NFLPA through experience, and your knowledge of football is unsurpassed. Thank you for coming from the golf course with us. I mean, you'll do anything. I'm waiting to get you in the shower one day, Byron. Of course, we got to keep it clean, but I know you'll even do the broadcast from the shower if you had to. You're something else, man. You do it.
I still got to get too tall up here. Too tall.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Tall up here, cause Jack, I'm telling you.
I gotta. You gotta warn me though if he's coming on. Though I don't want to get ambushed. I want to see him one day, all of a sudden on here.
No, there's going to be no warning, Jack. Trust me.
You
I will
don't
make
need no
sure.
warning. You're the worry now. You don't need no warning.
That's right.
Okay. As long as it's not an in-studio appearance, then I'm good.
Oh, we got Byron. I will send you his address after the show. Byron, thank you for coming on again. As always, love having you, and we'll see you again next week, my friend.
All right. We'll see you.
Y'all
have a great week. Okay.
You will. You too. Yeah. So there you go, live from the Cowboy Golf Course, Jack. The Cowboys have their own golf course. I mean, no wonder why people want to play in Dallas, right? You got your beautiful stadiums, your spas, your golf courses. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if. Well, I'm not even going to go there because it's a family show. Jack, we'll be right back, and folks, we'll be right back after these messages. Please stick with us. On the other side, we got Keith Angle. We got a little bit to talk about NCAA football. I want to go over with him. And after that, we have the chairman of the ECFL who will be joining us later in the show. So stick with us. We'll be right back, folks. Down.
If you talk, and they will hear you every single time.
Oh, we're getting killed.
Yeah, well, Kyle's not here.
How come?
Kicked off the team. Didn't Tim tell you? Kyle and some other kids got caught drinking beer in the park a couple of nights ago.
Really?
Yeah. 0 tolerance. He's out for the season.
Come on, it's a first offense, right?
That we know of. But why should that matter? He knew not to drink. I've made it clear to Matt that's what we expect from him. What have you said to Tim?
Nothing really. You know, a lot of kids try it at this age, so
Yeah, well, a lot of kids don't try it too. I'm not saying that Matt's gonna be this perfect kid, but if I don't tell him what we expect and why he shouldn't drink, how's he gonna know?
you think kids that age really listen?
They never admit it, Bill, but they hear more than you think.
Talk. They hear you. For more information about talking with kids about underage drinking, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
If you served honorably in our nation's armed forces and you're looking for a way to continue serving your fellow veterans in your community, then join AMVETS. Each year, AMVETS members volunteer millions of hours at VA healthcare facilities from coast to coast, helping to improve the lives of their fellow veterans through the VA Voluntary Services Program. AMVETS posts and departments also participate in a wide variety of community service projects, ranging from Americanism in our schools to supporting the Special Olympics and Boy Scouts of America. If you no longer wear the uniform today, you can still serve through the AMVETS by joining today at amvets.org.
Hi, Grandma. What's for dinner?
Hey, honey, I'm making stew tonight.
Ooh, can Nina come over?
I'm not sure about our new friend. I wonder if there's been any drinking going on. Alcohol at her age can lead to so many bad things. I've been meaning to ask you, what would happen if someone offered you a drink?
Grandma?
This is hard. She's so young, but I know I need to talk to her about it now before someone tries to give her alcohol. If anyone ever does offer you a drink, I want you to say no. I have too much respect for my family, and I don't want to get in trouble.
Okay.
Really?
I promise, Grandma. I love you too.
Okay, how about tasting this stew and telling me what you think?
Some children may try alcohol as young as 9 years old. It's not too early to talk about drinking. For tips on how to begin the conversation, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. That's underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. This message brought to you by SAMHSA and this station.
I mean, you can see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready. I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face. Oh, I'm from Brooklyn. Hey, get any...
Good morning. You're listening to the Mac and Jack Sports Show on Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Mac and Jack Sports Show. I'm your host, Mac, with your co-host, Jack Hirsch. We're on Wednesday through Sunday, 8 to 10 a.m. Of course, this is our Friday edition. And, Jack, we just had on Byron Williams, our NFL analyst, and he fielded a bunch of questions for us, from the Giants to, Washington Redskins to the drug policy, people changing stadiums. I mean, we went over the gambit with him today.
Yeah, we did. And the interesting thing that he kind of answered a question I've always wondered about: who exactly pays the fines? And like a player gets fined. And I've always felt if the team approved of the player's conduct, they weren't too upset with him, they'll pick up the fine. Only when a player does something that's outright foolish, that they disapprove of, that they can't justify, then they'll let the player, pay the fine on his own. Then they won't cover for him. It all depends on what's what. Like, take fighting, for example, the Islanders, Tampa Bay. If a couple of players are fighting because they're trying to spark their team, then I'm sure the team picks the fine up for him in the long run. So, yeah.
I would imagine even if you remember the incident with the Steelers when, the backup quarterback got hit with the helmet, and the center,
Mason Rudolph, by Myles Garrett at Cleveland.
And the center went crazy on Garrett. I mean, he got fined and suspended. I would imagine the Steelers, with him protecting his quarterback like that, it's something you have to do on the field. I mean, and same thing. We talked about the not the executioners, but the bodyguards for the big scorers on the opposing team when they're trying to take out your big scorer, and then these guys are going to check them or fight them. I would imagine if they get fined, that the owner or the management is okay with that, Jack.
Let me tell you, if I'm a player, hypothetically, let's say football, and it's a high-priced quarterback on my team, and he's getting into a scuffle, a fight, and I come to his aid to protect him, and I get fined, and the team or the quarterback doesn't pick up my fine, and I'm not making a great deal of money, compared to the quarterback, I'm going to be a little ticked off. If I see he gets into a problem later on, even if it wasn't me and I'm observing someone else, I'm going to think, I can't afford to get fined. I got to pay this. The team and the quarterback, they're not going to cover my fine. They're not going to help me out. So I might just back off in that situation. I don't know what I throw myself in there if I'm the one that's going to get fined because I'm protecting, my high-priced talent around me.
I think you would, Jack. If you played, I think you would because
I probably would regardless. But I'm just, because the emotions and you want to do the right thing. But I'd have resentment, put it that way. I would resent it later, and I wouldn't have the warm feeling, meaning I wouldn't be as good a teammate. I do my job on the field, but the feeling of camaraderie, the feeling of the team spirit and all wouldn't be there the same way. And that could hurt the team in the long run when players feel that way.
I agree. We got Keith Engel backstage right now. We'll bring him up and continue the discussion a little bit. Keith, of course, the host of TGI Sports Talk, does a great job over there. Great guests, great interviews, and great insight on sports. How you doing today, Keith?
Gentlemen, how are you?
Not too bad. Keith, just to end up this conversation with me and Jack, we were talking to Byron Williams about, when a team player gets fined because he's protecting another player or, there's cause for him to fight, not just because he's being a jerk and is mad at the other player. And you remember, I think Jack remembers this too, when the Cowboys, of all teams, let Dalton get beat up almost by I think it was the Redskins linebacker, and they didn't do anything. The fans went crazy in Dallas. When the offensive lineman stood around and let Dalton take that shot and that that bad hit he took without at least coming over and confronting the Redskins, they all just walked away. The fans went berserk.
And as well they should. I'm always been a proponent of taking care of your teammates, whether it's football, baseball, whatever it is. Take care of things on the field and make sure they don't happen again, right? I don't want to see all-out brawls and whatnot, but you know what? You've got to protect your team, especially when you talk about your quarterback, or your best.
Guys, Keith, I only saw one instance in my life where I don't feel a team should have protected their own player. They should have let him get pounded. That's when Armando Benitez drilled Tino Martinez in the back after the Yankees hit a home run. It was so flagrant and so low. There was no justification to fight for your teammate. Maybe protect them to get him out of there. To cart him off the field quickly. Because there's a certain brotherhood of all the players, even the ones that aren't on the same team. And something like that was so outrageous. That was about the only instance I ever saw where I'd let my own guy get pounded a bit before pulling the other players off.
Yeah, I think I'd have to agree. The whole thing with baseball, I know you guys were talking about football, but the whole thing with baseball and retaliation, with the DH makes it a lot harder. You can't hit the guy that, hit the home run. The pitcher doesn't come up, so you can't hit that pitcher if he hits your pitcher, right? So you can't take care of business the same way on the field. The whole, like the Roger Clemens thing with Mike Piazza. The Mets waited for months and months and months to get a shot at Clemens, and then they had one shot at it, and Sean Estes missed him by about 10 feet. But anyway, to your original point, I for the most point, yes, you should be taking care of your teammates.
Well, there was an instance when Odell got in that scrape, and it looked like it was just a personal fight with the California Panther cornerback
Josh
there.
Norman.
Right. And to me, that's whatever. I mean, that doesn't mean, that's, you handle your business. You're just being a jerk and you're not playing the game anyway.
Different. Yeah.
But when it's, when I'm playing and somebody's on top of one of my players and I was playing football and they're kind of giving the business, I'm coming running there and I'm going to knock that guy on his ass if I can.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is. That's the way it is when you're playing a game.
You're not going to earn the respect of your teammates if you don't.
Agreed 100%. So, Keith, we're going to take a veer off what we normally talk with you about. Of course, the Yankees had a very good game yesterday for a change. Judge made a nice play, triple play, a couple good hits, and they kind of looked okay yesterday. It's against the Blue Jays that aren't playing well right now, but, we'll take a win when we can get a win. I'll let you comment on that briefly before we push on to what I want to push on to you with.
The Yankees, 3-game sweep, only their second one of the season, I think. And again, sweeps are sweep. I know the Toronto Blue Jays aren't playing well. They clearly didn't play well this series. It looked like whoever the Yankee base running coach was traded to the Blue Jays for this series because they were in the bases like their eyes were closed. But again, wins are wins, and the Yankees are looking better. They played a little bit better. They pitched a little bit better. Hopefully we'll get past this whole Garrett Cole and illegal substances and whatnot and nonsense. That I don't. I hope I blew my brains out on a vlog last week trying to get past this whole thing, but every time I bring it up. So the Yankees hopefully are heading down the right path. I mean, there's some guys getting healthy, some guys playing better. It's all a matter of health, I mean,
hey, Keith and Jack, I got a prediction for you before we go on to the NCAA. Yeah. There will be sticky substance allowed to pitchers when the Major League Baseball approves a substance and they can make money off it. Soon as there is a substance that Major League Baseball says is okay, like the gloves, and they can push it off and make money, that'll be allowed. I guarantee it.
There is somebody working on sunscreen and rosin right now, I guarantee you, looking to sell that substance, and Major League Baseball promote it. Definitely.
Well, you know what it is. You're mostly joking around, even though I think you feel baseball is anything to make money. No. But Garrett Cole wants to talk to Major League Baseball. He's complaining it's hard enough to grip the baseball as it is. And I wouldn't know. I only pitched little league, so I don't know anything about pitching. You
got hitters like Pete Alonso saying, "I want them to have. I don't want a guy throwing
right, exactly.
Not know where the ball's going."
Listen,
if batters start getting hit, and the game becomes a little more dangerous, then they're going to reconsider these substances because at the end of the day, safety is going to be the number one priority.
Well, Jack, let me tell you, I guarantee you, once Major League Baseball is able to promote and sell and have a contract with some kind of company that provides something that gives you a better grip on the baseball, it will be legal then. I guarantee you that. So, Keith, let's get to the NCAA, and me and Jack really haven't covered this in depth. They're talking about now having 12 teams in the playoffs. They had a committee, a 3-person committee that turned into a 4-person committee. They supposedly examined 100 different playoff models.
How about football, Mac? Now
this is what we're talking about: NCAA football.
Right.
NCAA football. Yes. So that the same 3 teams aren't in there all the time, and maybe it becomes a little bit more exciting for the rest of the country, which makes sense to me. They're talking about 6 highest ranked conference champs, 6 at-large best teams that they have ranked. Now, it's a step in the right direction, Keith. It is. But they're still making it too confusing to me. Keep it simple. The division winners play in the playoffs. Take the selection committee the hell out of there. Let the winners of the divisions play playoffs to the national championship. If you want to do a wild card like they do in the NFL, and you're going to maybe have another team for the SEC in there, great. The selection committee, to me, is what's wrong with college football right now, because that's just a matter of opinion based off a bunch of numbers, right? And we know in a game, in any game, anything can happen. It's the best team playing that game on that day. That's who wins the football game, not how many rushes they had, how many touchdowns they had. That doesn't matter. The pass, it's the game that day. And to me, they're still making it way too complicated and giving too much power to a bunch of people that have nothing to do with the way the team plays.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you to a certain extent. I think they have too many at-larges. I was a proponent. In fact, I had a guy threaten to sue me because he said he wrote a book about this, and it's only been talked about, 1 million times everywhere. I kind of talked about going to 16 teams, right? And I believe there were 12 conferences that would their league winner would go, right down to, I don't know, the Mountain Sky, whatever.
Right.
And then you'd still have 4 at-larges. So you could still, because the argument would be, well, if you let this team in, from, Idaho, from wherever, get in, well, you're going to have a really good SEC team not get in. And also the argument, and then the same people, though, would argue that if you expand the playoffs, you're going to dilute the regular season, which I totally disagree with. Especially in your scenario, Mac, if you only have league winners get in, well, the regular season is everything.
Right.
You to win the SEC to get into the playoff in your scenario, which I don't necessarily disagree with. I would be okay, though, if they went to, and I think when I did the math, there was like 12 leagues that would qualify to have their league champions get in. And then you could still have 4 wild cards if you wanted to, or at-large teams. And maybe somebody, who had whatever, a great season in the SEC or one of the Power Fives wouldn't get, have to be left out. But I like the fact that they're talking about expanding it. This 4 teams is not working. It's just not working. People don't care. The games are blowouts. They need to tweak it. I mean, they did a good thing going to the playoff and getting away from the BCS and all the other nonsense that we had. But they do need. I'm excited about the fact they're just talking about expanding it. I would prefer to see something more along your model, Mac, that would include more teams and more leagues, because the little guy should get a shot. Coastal Carolina had a great season last year. They should get a shot. Yep, maybe they'll get blown out by Alabama in the first round. They should still get a shot.
Keith, what about Indiana and Cincinnati, places that don't have a great football tradition? All of a sudden, they become eligible to make, the playoffs if there's an expanded playoff system. Think what it would do for those programs, that part of the country, that they're actually going in the tournament. Even you take the NCAA basketball tournament, one of the most heartwarming things is to see the players waiting to see whether they were selected. And when they're selected, just the idea that they can attend the party, even if they don't have a great chance of winning that this could be nothing but good for college football as far as I'm concerned.
It would be great for college football, and it would also help distribute the talent better, right? Right now, the talent is going to Alabama, it's going to Clemson, it's going to Georgia, it's going to all these teams that are always in the playoff. And if you had expanded it and you let all these leagues have their champions in, as Mac was talking about, then you're going to get guys who say, yeah, I'll go to Indiana. And they'll be more consistently good than they've been. So I think it'd be great for college football.
I agree, Keith. And, I don't think that there will be as much movement between team to team because you have a shot at getting to that playoff. And I also think that a lot of players would stay closer to home. If, for instance, say for instance, the Big East, which really doesn't, I don't even know if it exists anymore now. It's more ACC East and blah, blah, blah. But suppose the Big East, which used to be, and I'm not sure if they're even in it anymore, with the University of Florida, I think it's Central Florida University, if I'm not mistaken, they normally have a good team and they normally dominate that league.
Yeah, they play in the AAC, the American Football.
Right. But they used to. I mean, it's changed so much. I don't know who that is anymore.
Yeah, I know. But that's a good league, by the way. I promoted the crap out of that league last year. That is a really good football league.
And they have a very good team. Now, I don't know if they probably 9 out of 10 times they're going to get beat by Alabama and they're going to get beat by Clemson. We know that. But the point being is that this is going to give them a chance to play these teams. And just playing these teams, you're going to be able to recruit better, and it's going to even things off. It only makes sense that they follow the NFL model. I'm going to tell you the biggest thing holding them back right now is because the conference presidents are too damn strong and too powerful. They don't want to let go of any of that money. They don't want to let go of any of that. They don't want to let go. But for the NCAA to be a real organization, they have to be able to take control of that and say, this is the way it is. It's got to be somewhat of an agreement, of course. But this is the way it is, man, because we want the NCAA football to be a better product. We want more people involved. We want teams to have a chance that are over in the, in the Unicorn Conference in the Western United States somewhere, that, they have a representative there. There's no reason why Georgia still couldn't get in if they don't win. There's wild card things. There's wild card teams. So, I think that they should follow the NFL model. It's easier to follow as a fan. How do we know if Ohio State playing 4 games is better than Florida, Eastern Florida, whatever school that is? We don't really know that. Come on. We know it's a great university, but we don't know that year if they could have beat them. That's the kind of stuff that irritates me, and I think irritates a lot of college football fans.
The first couple of years, it could be ugly the first couple of years when these teams, the ones play the 16s or whatever they end up, doing. But it will get better, as we said, as that talent gets dispersed a little bit more. And I think it'll be more fun. Look at when they first started including some of these great, outside of the Power 5 conferences like Boise State and Utah back in the day when they were still playing, not in the Pac-10 or Pac-12, but in the Mountain West or whatever they played in. When Urban Meyer was out there. And they went to the Sugar Bowl and they beat Alabama.
Right.
And Boise State went to the Fiesta Bowl and beat a really good Oklahoma team, and nobody thought they had a chance. These teams will have a chance. And does it really matter if we watch Alabama blow out Coastal Carolina or blow out Notre Dame?
Yeah, I agree.
Right?
I agree.
And I'm going to tell you the other implications with an extended playoff system. Think of how that's going to affect the NFL draft, because a lot of times decisions are made in what goes on in the playoffs. Take Justin Fields. He played a great game against Clemson. Not such a good game against Alabama, but let's say he was sensational in that one game against Alabama. Chances are, he would have gone 1-2 with Trevor Lawrence. Maybe he would have even been the top pick. Who knows?
You never know. You never know. Carlos made a good point about, some of these guys on the benches of Alabama and Clemson. They don't ever play and they get drafted in the first and second rounds of the NFL draft. It's only going to help them, I think. Yeah. Right? It'll help NFL teams because they'll be able to evaluate these guys. They don't even have film on guys that they're drafted in the first round sometimes.
And it'll make them do their job too, Keith. Instead of just drafting 11 Alabama guys, they got to look around the league a little bit too. You know? I just think that the NCAA is foolish. And to let you know, one of the 4 people that were, proposing this thing was the athletic director. The only athletic director from Notre Dame was there. The only one in the whole kit and caboodle there. Because
they don't want this.
They're not in the league, so he was there. But see, this is where the 6 teams at Elitem come in. This is where Notre Dame comes in, right? So you don't have to win the conference or be in the conference, but if you have a good year, we'll let you in. No more. Form an independent. Wait, check me out, Keith. Form an independent division. Notre Dame, some of the independent schools that don't play in a league right now. I think Navy or Army is in there. I'm not sure. Have them form their own division too, and that way it all comes together.
I think Notre Dame will end up. Well, that's a good point, actually. But I think Notre Dame will get pushed towards the ACC probably if they are forced to join a league. But they don't want to, right? Because they don't want to share that TV contract that they got. They don't want that.
Yeah, it's not as big as it was, Keith. Notre Dame.
Guys, listen. Let's say hypothetically they really wanted to get bold and made it 64 teams. That means, but no. Listen, guys. That means a team would have to win 6 games, play 6 weeks in a row, which is kind of long. And you save the final game a 2-week gap like they do for the Super Bowl. It's actually doable, but it does make it a bit of a long season. But you could I mean, you guys are talking 16, but once you expand it to 16 teams, it becomes very popular. The next thing they're going to talk about 32 teams or maybe 24. Maybe give unbeaten teams a bye or something to set up some system. But it's not going to stop at 16 in the long run once you expand to 16.
They can't. They have to stop at 16. I mean, there's no way. I mean, 32 and 64 is just not feasible. The season, their regular season have to be 5 games long, and
that's a basketball thing.
Well, listen, the NFL plays 17 games, so it would be kind of comparable.
Yeah, but
the NFL schedule if they did that only for the elite team.
There's no
who's going all the way.
There's no 64 teams getting in the NFL though, Jack.
Remember, college basketball does that over 2 weeks. They play 64 teams over 2 weeks. It gets done. So
I'm saying they would add 6-7 weeks to the season, the regular season, on top of it. I don't know, but it's going to be hard to stop at 16. They'll talk about somehow expanding it to get in a few more teams. That would be inevitable.
I don't know why. Jack, I don't know why that would be hard to do. I don't know how many divisions or leagues there are in the NCAA and Class 1A, but I don't think there's 64 divisions. I mean,
no, I think I counted 12.
No, not divisions. I'm talking about college football teams in the whole country.
No.
When is it? A type of NCAA tournament.
No, Jack, we got to keep it simple. When are the divisions and a few wild cards and see you later, man? You can't let just a bunch of teams like the March Madness. That would be.
I don't disagree with you guys. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying what would go down once you expand to 16. There'd be some good teams that wouldn't quite make the final 16. And the controversy that we get in basketball, we'll be getting in football. They'll talk about slightly expanding it. And the only way you expand it, then you give maybe the teams with the 4 best records. I'm just talking off the top of my head a bye where they don't have to play the first week. It's just a thought.
Yeah, the system they're talking about now, I think, is 12 teams, and 4 teams are going to get a bye in that. I'm not really crazy about that system, to be honest with you, but at least they're talking about.
Yeah, it's an improvement. It's at least better than it is now and than it was before.
Guys, what happens to the bowl games? How do they become dinosaurs? The Orange Bowl, the Rose Bowl. I mean, I don't want to say it becomes meaningless. It has tradition behind it, but it's not the same anymore.
Only the first 4 games would not be part of the bowl games. The semifinals would still be part of the bowl system. Look, the whole bowl system's gone by the wayside right now. There's nobody at these games. It's just for television to fill time slots.
But guys, we don't think who won the Rose Bowl. We'll think who won the playoff game. That's what we
Yeah. So, you know what? The Rose Bowl of all these bowls have done the best job of maintaining their identity, I think, through this whole thing. And I think the big 4 bowl games are still, because they're part of the playoff more often than not. I think they still do maintain some of their
those
who cares about the CarQuest Bowl? Nobody's going to that CarQuest Bowl.
Those old bowl games, they made the bowl system itself made itself inadequate when they started just having 100 bowl games and you had teams 500 playing in them, and it lost a lot of stuff. Anyway, I'm glad to a point it's over because everybody was in the bowl game. Everybody.
And whoever doesn't make the playoffs, so they do what they do in basketball, like an NIT type thing. Where you have a secondary tournament, not as popular, but nevertheless.
College has like 4 different ones now. I mean,
no. I mean, listen. Yeah, what do you want to scoop every penny, man? Man, you make enough money. Just play the games and that's it. Let's keep it simple. God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I like the fact that they're at least talking, and it does appear something's going to get done.
Yeah, within the next 2 years or so. In fact, they've been meeting in secret for 2 years. I don't. It's like this is a.
We're going to be invading China. We got to keep it secret.
This is the FBI thing they're doing right now. Oh my God. Well, Keith, we're gonna let you go. I know you got some stuff you got to do. I want to cover this NCAA a little bit more because it's very interesting.
I love the NCAA. I do a lot covering. I watch the NCAA very, very closely. So I'd be happy to jump in there anytime.
Beautiful, because we'll be definitely using you for that. As you know, the Knicks are going down and the Yankees are still there, but the Knicks are all over, and the Pats aren't playing yet. So we'll use you a little bit for the NCAA too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that'll be great. Keith, I want to thank you again for stopping in after your show. Always a pleasure having you on. Have a great weekend, my friend.
All right, you too. Have a good one, guys.
Take care, Keith.
So there you go, Keith Angle from TGI Sports Jack, covering something that we really don't cover that much. It's very interesting. It's very complicated, and it shouldn't be that way, but that's okay. That's sports, I guess, in college now. Jack, we're going to take our second break. On the other side, we're scheduled to have Jim Harmon, the chairman, president of the ECFL League, the Eastern Conference Football League. He'll be scheduled to be in at 9:30. So, folks, be ready to welcome him aboard, and we'll be right back, folks, after these messages. That's my timer right now. I just got messaged by the head of Notre Dame, the athletic director, Jack. He's mad at me right now for even bringing his name up, but that's okay. We'll be right back after this, folks.
If you served honorably in our nation's armed forces and you're looking for a way to continue serving your fellow veterans in your community, then join AMVETS. Each year, AMVETS members volunteer millions of hours at VA healthcare facilities from coast to coast, helping to improve the lives of their fellow veterans through the VA Voluntary Services Program. AMVETS posts and departments also participate in a wide variety of community service projects, ranging from Americanism in our schools to supporting the Special Olympics and Boy Scouts of America. If you no longer wear the uniform today, you can still serve through the AMVETS by joining today at amvets.org.
Hi, Grandma. What's for dinner?
Hey, honey, I'm making stew tonight.
Ooh, can Nina come over?
I'm not sure about our new friend. I wonder if there's been any drinking going on. Alcohol at her age can lead to so many bad things. I've been meaning to ask you, what would happen if someone offered you a drink?
Grandma?
This is hard. She's so young, but I know I need to talk to her about it now before someone tries to give her alcohol. If anyone ever does offer you a drink, I want you to say no. I have too much respect for my family, and I don't want to get in trouble.
Okay.
Really?
I promise, Grandma. I love you too.
Okay, how about tasting this stew and telling me what you think?
Some children may try alcohol as young as 9 years old. It's not too early to talk about drinking. For tips on how to begin the conversation, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. That's underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. This message brought to you by SAMHSA and this station.
We all make choices. When it comes to alcohol, kids make choices whether to drink or not.
Anna,
Bye-bye.
remember, I'm going to Alex's party tonight and sleeping over.
Hey, have a seat for a second. Remind me about that party again?
And adults make choices whether to talk about it. That's true of parents and every other trusted adult in a kid's life. Kids want to know our expectations when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. They want guidance and honest answers to their questions. And it makes a difference when the message is consistent and part of everyday conversations. So talk with your kids and help lead them on a positive path. Because when you talk, they hear you. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
If you talk and they will hear you every single time.
Oh, we're getting killed.
Yeah, well, Kyle's not here.
How come?
Kicked off the team. Didn't Tim tell you? Kyle and some other kids got caught drinking beer in the park a couple of nights ago.
Really?
Yeah. Zero tolerance. He's out for the season.
Come on, it's the first offense, right?
That we know of. But why should that matter? He knew not to drink. I made it clear to Matt, that's what we expect from him. What have you said to Tim?
Nothing really. You know, a lot of kids try it at this age, so.
Yeah, well, a lot of kids don't try it too. I'm not saying I'm asking to be this perfect kid, but if I don't tell him what we expect and why he shouldn't drink, how's he gonna know?
You think kids that age really listen?
They never admit it though, but they hear more than you think.
Talk. They hear you. For more information about talking with kids about underage drinking, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
I mean, you can see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboys fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready.
I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face. Oh, I'm from Brooklyn. Hey, get any.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Mac and Jack Sports Show on live Wednesday through Sunday, 8 to 10 a.m. I'm your host, Mac, with your co-host, legendary boxing writer, Jack Hirsch himself. And Jack, we just had on Keith Engel talking about the NCAA football. We had Byron Williams on, former NFL receiver, our analyst, talking about the NFL. And coming up next, Jack, we've got the president, the chairman, the head guy over at the ECFL, that's the East Coast Football League. It's a semi-pro league that we're going to be partnering up with this year and kind of letting their live games run on our feed. We're going to be covering the Connecticut Mustangs locally here. That's in the works. And, of course, you volunteered to be on the first show, Jack, so that'll be fun for you and everybody else watching. So let's bring up Jim Harmon and see how he's doing. How you doing today, Jim? Doing really good. So Jim, I want to talk to you a little bit about the ECFL itself. I love semi-pro football, and here's why. Back in the 70s, before the NCAA football became so big, semi-pro football, at least up in this part of the country, was pretty big. We had the Hartford Knights, who had 4 Pro Bowlers that went on to the NFL, became Pro Bowlers. Marv Hubbard, Coy Bacon, Bob Tucker, and actual players that played on the New York Jets and other teams that weren't Pro Bowlers. So, I mean, it was almost a feeder system at one time here up in the Northeast. And I found your site kind of going through. We were covering the Falcons, the Triborough League. I got in with the Connecticut Mustangs and found you and found your site. And Jim, I'm going to tell you, all the folks out there viewing right now and listening, if you got a chance, go check out this site. It's ecfl.us or their Facebook page. And this thing looks like ESPN. You're doing a tremendous job, Jim.
Oh, no, I appreciate it. Like I said, we got multiple feed, live stream guys and video guys that are out there with different companies, with Bishop Media, Spin Move, ESN, of course, ECFL Live that we started. We took off big and did it. We went through our hard times with doing the videotaping and the live streams last year through COVID. We knew it was very important last year to get our games out to the fans and to families that couldn't attend the games because of COVID. And we got through a successful season, with a 7-game season for a team, and got through playoffs, and it was great.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched, and I'm not, putting any other league down, but the leagues I've watched and I've come through because I really wanted to have something for the network to cover. We're fairly new. We're only like in our 6th month, Jim, and I got big aspirations of making Northeast Streaming Sports a big network. And I was looking around and I saw semi-pro and I said, man, that would be so cool if we could get them. Jim's kind of disappeared on his back.
Yeah.
But it would be so cool if we could get together, put some shine on these guys who play their hearts out. You know, the players that I have come to know, they play their hearts out. They're looking to keep living that dream of maybe playing professional football, whether it be arena football, Canadian, or maybe even get a tryout with the NFL. And even some, Jim, do this because their colleges really don't provide a football program. So the story is tremendous when it comes to semi-pro.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I ran a team years back, the New Hampshire Wolfpack. I had multiple players that, you know, we were kind of the pioneers of doing video at our times, and the players for our games. And we took that film and used that film for some of these high school kids that didn't do well in their high school senior years, went to these community colleges to get their grades up, and they were able to use the filming and play football on one of our teams, and basically able to go play some D2, D3 ball and have their eligibility kept. So it was helpful for those players to continue on even with their education and still continue to play in the game they love.
Definitely. So Jim, when you design this site, like I said, everybody, ECFL.us or their Facebook page at East Conference Football League, when you design this site, I mean, I can only imagine the work that went into this. I got to show the folks something real quick. I mean, this is their right here. Let me see if I can share this to them. I should be able to share it to the folks that are watching right now. It's their site, folks, and this is just a glimpse of what they're doing over there. And it's the East Coast Football League, and they actually have I don't know if, can you see that over there, Jack?
Oh, that's the page.
Yeah, that's one of the pages. I don't know if Jack can hear me or not, if he went to sleep. They actually
I can hear you. I see it there.
Okay.
Yeah.
They actually have a power rankings for their games upcoming. So I mean, they are running this professionally. We've shown the clip of the team, the helmets and the teams that are coming up in the year this year, Jim. So I mean, I'm pretty excited about what you're doing over there and how it's being run right now. And again, you know, I already said you're doing a great job, but it's unbelievable. It really is. And I'm really looking forward to sharing your games on our site. The YouTube link you already have, if I'm correct, right? That you can hook up to. Paz got with you on that.
We don't use YouTube, but we can link whatever it is. We're gone to, like I said, we always try to progress year after year, trying different things, different technology. So, like I said, right now, a lot of our guys use Sling Studio, and they use other technologies. And then we gone to some switcher base that now we can we're going to practice around with the red zone stuff. So, like at ECFL Live, the one I run. Basically, you know, if there's a red zone going at any other, like we have 5 games live streaming weekend. So any of those games, those guys that are running the games can text me and said, hey, or actually I can watch it anyways from where I am, and I can drop from my feed and go to their feed, just like you see on in the NFL, a quick red zone look. So it's we're trying to progress as we go here, and trying technologies affordable, it's affordable. So, and it's easy to handle. So
sure.
Really, literally, my 11-year-old son is my producer. So,
Jim, what's the long range goal of the league? Where do you hope it is in a few years?
This year kind of a shocker. I mean, we went from we gained a lot gains here after COVID, because a lot of the teams that kind of see how we ran things through COVID and how organized we were, and they came over feeling that this was the league for them. We have a strong owners group. These guys all work together, and obviously it showed last year. doing COVID because we couldn't have done it with all the inner support and their willingness to go through those hard times. And, it's a remarkable group of owners that, if you work together, there's nothing you can not do. And so, and that's where the growth comes from. From here on, who knows? I work with, I'm the director over the American Compulsion AFA with Dave Birch. We run the Bowl Series, so you'll see some Bowl Series stuff on there. So that's a separate entity that we deal with. We are AFA lead. There's a lot of benefits to that. We have the largest insurance company. We got, Saddles Insurance. That's through the AFA, which is a $5 million plan, which gives us the opportunities to play our games at a lot of colleges and large stadiums that require those type of insurances, unlike other leagues. And there's a lot of benefits that we do here. So we'll have the Northeast Championship game. We have a Northeast Championship game this year. We haven't decided the site to be determined. Could be Canton, Ohio, or it could be in Virginia Beach. We're gonna set it down by Labor Day, where we're gonna play that championship game. And that comes down to the ECFL championship, EFA championship, and there's two others. I think Mason Dick is going to join us. As long as you're an AFA league, your champion will be involved in that championship series. So it's a multi-league championship series. So which is the true championship. It's roster for roster. You can't pick up all players. We make them submit before our championship game. We have to submit our rosters. Both the two teams that are in the championship game from our league have to submit their rosters, and that locks it for that tournament. So it's more that everybody's not going down to Florida or whatever. And it's only who can afford to go down there, and you kind of load up or whatever and play in it's a national championship. They use all those goods. It kind of turns it not legit when you're picking up. It's not your own teammates that you've been playing all season with. So,
sure, definitely. I mean, we do have our social media producer is Jamie. I call him Pags. Pagaleria, I think is his name. I know he sent you a request. Send him an editor request if you could, and that way, when I'm not available, because I do work other things, he can share it right to the Facebook, and we can just go there. I'll have him send you a message or whatever, so we can get it tight. So if something happens where I'm not there, he can run it for me, and it will go. It'll be able to go on the Facebook page and to all our other platforms, so that we can carry on. We go Instagram, we go Twitter, we go Twitch TV, and certain things. So we got a lot of platforms we're on, and that will have more people viewing the games. So we're gonna give it a shot, Jim. We're gonna try and cover it live. The Connecticut Mets things I know from Jack Jones, the GM there. He's also working with the Falcons, and we're gonna go live that day, Saturday night. I think 6 p.m. against Rhode Island, and this will be the first time that we call a real game live. So it's going to be interesting to see how we do our first time. But
hey, it's all trial and error.
That's what I tell Jack.
I'm glad you said that's all trial and error. I'm supposed to be one of the analysts, so I think there'll be a little more error than trial. But my first football broadcast, as an analyst. So I think I know the game pretty well. But it'll be challenging. But I'm really looking forward to it. Especially you look forward to these players who really have a dream of going to a higher level. And it's it's going to be a good quality game, as well. And it's going to be entertaining. If someone loves football, I strongly suggest they tune in.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, this is we call ourselves the Players League. If you've probably seen that logo all over the place. So the filming and all this stuff and the stuff we do is really for the players. To use it, what you use it for is for memories or for getting into college, going to the next level. At least they're getting the exposure and the filming they need. So a lot of leagues out there are not at that level of doing that type of stuff, and it's just something we do, and that's why we call us the Players League.
Yeah, listen, we have on as one of our regulars, Jim Jeffcoat, former NFL star, Dallas Cowboys. And he admitted most players in the NFL would play for nothing. If they had to, they play for love of the game first and foremost. So sometimes that gets lost, in the translation of the NFL players getting paid. But the guys in your league, they're truly playing for love of game, for joy of game. They want to get to the next level. They all have a dream as well, but they are genuinely playing for the love of football.
Yep, exactly.
Oh yes, we're still connected, right, Jim?
Yep.
Okay. Right. Yeah. David Miranda says, "What's up, buddy?" Like he knows you, and he wants my hat or a hat like mine. And it's one of a kind, David. I chased a guy in Bermuda 12 blocks to get this hat, and I think it's one of a kind. So you'll have to go down to Bermuda and see if you can find a guy like the one I was. Maybe there's a family member that has another one. It requires a lot of work and searching. So Dave, that's where you would go to get a hat like this. So Jimmy, I see you're in your car. It looks like you're on the move.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I'm not driving filming, so don't worry. I do travel.
Yeah, I can imagine the undertaking it must take. For me, I kind of oversee the network. Me and my wife is my assistant producer, believe it or not, of the network. And to get all the shows up and try to keep them together, get them all the platforms, work out specials, try to get something like this together. I get hardly any sleep besides my other job. So, I mean, I understand what something like this is. People watch it and they say, well, it's just a show. But to get something, a network up and going and being responsible, I oversee, me and my wife, 11 shows, and you got 26 teams. I mean, that's got to be crazy to make sure that's all coordinated. And I guarantee you need a lot of help to keep up with all the information and stuff. And that's where I think you were talking about your coaches, right?
Yeah, our owners, they own all the 27 owners of the league. So it's, like I said, I know you guys call me the president. I'm not the president of the league. I'm actually the commissioner. So we have a president, John Kadash. He does a lot for us, the guy behind the scenes that nobody ever sees. He's the president of the league. He takes care of all the president/treasurer, does all the paperwork stuff that does with insurances, the AFA, and all that type of stuff. So he's he's behind the scenes. People, we have our banquets and stuff, and and that's who that guy is. And
right,
you could have John, and he's an older gentleman, older than me, so he would be fun to talk to. So
that'd be great. That'd be good. Yeah, that'd be great. I mean, go ahead, Jim. Sorry.
Yeah, they brought me in, a group of them to help get this league started, because they knew I'm a go-getter, and just kind of if I'm involved, it's going to succeed, and it will happen. So like I said, just the way I ran my other teams, I ran the whole back, and I ended up having so many players that I had to develop two teams, like a JV varsity team. So we were one of the largest organizations in the nation having a true multi-team aspect. So,
Jim, your league has to get a specific fan base. I'm sure that's what you're targeting, because with the USFL and XFL coming back, it's more than just the general population. You need a specific fan base that really appreciates semi-pro football, and follows a particular team.
Right. Yeah. So, like I said, out here, it's, with the bigger teams that are coming in, like the Middleborough Cobras, the Tauntons, the Shamrocks, their fan. Whoops, did I drop here? And back in. Their fan base is unbelievable. Having the exposure, they lost. Can you hear me still?
Okay.
At least.
Yes, we can, Jim.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, they got big fan bases and stuff, and hoping these other teams that are newer and stuff, have the type of fan bases. But again, the live streaming and all that stuff, it develops a different type of fan base for people, especially with the COVID years or people that can't get out. It's an option. They get to check out the games and enjoy the games.
You know, and I would think too, certain locations that don't have a major sports franchise, like Connecticut, for example, they would be more supportive of a semi-pro team because that's their franchise.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's a lot of small towns that will definitely get behind you. Like, it's great to see out there, and trying to get the kids out there to come out and check the games, and that's how our approach is. I did way back with the Wolfpack is to get involved with the players and parents. You know, a lot of players are parents. Get involved in other Pop Warner programs that are local programs, and getting the kids involved, and you know, being supportive of football.
Yeah. I mean, I played for 10 years and coached almost 12 years football, Jim. So I ran a town program and went on to, I didn't get to the highest levels, of course, but I was pretty successful at what I did. And what I found out is that if you can get towns behind certain things like you can anywhere else, as long as you publicize it and work the town, and that, I guess on a larger scale would be the same thing. If you can get all the towns involved, and that's where you start really building your following, that the support of this team from them certain locations is where all of a sudden, you know, now you get more support, you get more money coming in, the team can grow, the league can grow, and then it becomes even a better product. And I guess that would, you know, Jack was saying, what's the ultimate goal? I guess it's just to improve, right? To have a more competitive, a stronger, more successful league. Wouldn't that be true?
Yes, it would. I mean, like I said, definitely the foundations. Again, like I said, you know, the teams that started up or been around. If you start involving the community and the, you know, even the, like I said, football programs, Pop Warner programs, being right there involved with them, and you know, not always partnering with them, but doing stuff with them, get involved and go out there coaching, the running clinics. Those are your fans. That's your base in the future, and they can be your players in the future too. So, like, sure. you know, there's a low percentage of them that are going to move on to play college. Low percentage are going to move on from college to play pro. So that's their not say product, their player base for the future to continue to stride and to continue as a program.
Yes, I agree 100%. So Jim, we're gonna let you go. We're gonna finish up the program. I appreciate you stopping in, talking about the ECFL. Okay. Really excited about having you guys on with us and covering the Mustangs and running your program. It's going to be great. I love semi-pro, as I told you. I think what you've done over there. What you've done over there is tremendous. You really have, you and your crew. I know you've got other people working with you, but you guys are doing a tremendous job up there. Keep up the great work, and we're really looking forward to this year, Jim.
Okay, thank you guys. We enjoy having you guys on and joining us, and you know, making this a very successful season, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, we're gonna
looking forward to the season.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
Take care, Jim. So there you go, Jack. Jim Harmon from the ECFL. Folks, again, one more time, if you want to see a professionally run semi-pro football league as far as videos and promotions and what they're doing over there, doing like a red zone, bringing in different games on different live feeds. I mean, it's really their outcoming year. We're kind of coming out with them, covering some games, all 12 games, hopefully, with the Mustangs. Jack is going to be involved in at least the first two, hopefully, and Logan Landers from Unscripted is going to be running point. And I got the utmost confidence in Logan. He does a great job over there, knows what he's doing. So video-wise, game-wise, he's a very organized guy. So I think you guys will do fine. Tomorrow night, Jack, I think you guys will do fine. You might have a few mistakes here and there. So what? It's part of learning how to.
It's a 52-0 blowout, Mac. We're gonna have to be creative. That's for sure.
That's why you're there, Jack. There's one thing that you are is very creative. You know how to fill any kind of time. anywhere. I don't even have to, folks. I don't even have to have a subject or topic to do the show 2 hours. I'm telling you right now, all I got to do is say a sentence, and Jack could run with it for 2 hours. I guarantee you, because he'll take every avenue off that main question. He's very good at that, and he really does a great job. So, folks, we're gonna check out and end the show here. Tomorrow, guys, we have our debate show. This is where me and Jack kind of go at it. We kind of go ahead and discuss the topics and our points of view. Sometimes it gets a little bit contemptuous, if that's the correct word, if I'm using it correct. But most times it's all in fun. We'll have Dr. Paul Semendinger on with us, MLB expert, runs the New York Yankees blog, starts spreading the news. He knows everything about the Yankees and then some, and he's very insightful. He participates in the debate. So, folks, join us tomorrow, 8 to 10 a.m. on our live debate show. Again, thank you to all the guests coming in today. We love having Byron Williams on. We love having Keith on. And we appreciate Jim Harmon from the ECFL stopping in and telling us a little bit about something that people really don't follow, Jack, but I think there's going to be a lot of followers as this thing continues growing. So, folks, we'll see you tomorrow at 8 to 10 a.m. Don't forget, if you got a chance, it's on the Facebook page, it's on YouTube. Check out the special from last night we did on the New York Yankees, Re-Rise of the Dynasty, a special about the 70s Yankees, where they came back from not being in the playoffs for about a decade, and under George Steinbrenner, Billy Martin, and a bunch of good players became World Series champions again. So get a chance to check that out. Jack and me say have a good day, have a good weekend, and we'll see you tomorrow, folks. Thanks for tuning in.